Before we get started with today's episode, I want to tell you about a brand new program that I have open right now. And this is 8 weeks, which is 2 months of one-on-one strength training coaching with me. I created this offer because I see how many people actually need one-on-one coaching because they are unique. You are unique, and you need a plan that is designed based on what you have available, how much time you have available, how your body is feeling, what kind of past injuries you may have, what kind of goals you have, do you have chronic pain, and so on and so on. You need a customized workout plan and also one-on-one coaching if you want to be truly successful at it. Whether you are a complete beginner, you can get started with strength training, absolutely. If you have some chronic pain, chronic sensations, you can get started with strength training, and I am here to support you all the way. You have my full support. If you already are on a little bit more of an intermediate level, but you feel stuck, you can improve your workouts and get more results out of your workouts. I am here to support you with all this. So this 2-month program includes a custom workout plan that I put together based on our first conversation, which is going to be thorough and detailed. I want to know how I can best support you. I want to know what is going on in your life, in your body, what can you do, and what are your expectations. I'm going to create this plan based on that. It also includes bi-weekly calls with me and then 5 days a week of text message access. You can also send me workout videos and exercises so that we can fix your form if there's something that we need to fix or do differently. I want to make sure that you're fully supported. And like I said, I am here to help you with everything that I can. Applications are open until March 17th, which is Monday. So go ahead and check out the link in the show notes, in the YouTube description, and in my Instagram bio as well. When you go there, please make sure to watch the introduction video. It's really, really important. Strength training truly can change your life the way that it has changed my life personally. So this is my mission, to get as many people as possible into strength training, because this is truly the best thing that you can do for your health. Go ahead and check out the link in my bio, in the show notes, in the YouTube description, and I can't wait to receive your application. Hi, my name is Kersten Kimura. Welcome to A Better Way with Kersten podcast. If you're a highly sensitive person or you are dealing with chronic symptoms, also known as TMS, this is the right podcast for you. Here you will learn how to conquer chronic symptoms and anxiety by building physical strength, empowering your mind, and processing your emotions. These are essential tools for highly sensitive people and people with chronic conditions so that we can be strong, healthy, and confident. Before we get started, please keep in mind that I'm not a doctor. The content in this show is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice of your physician or other qualified health provider with any questions you may have regarding your health. Never disregard professional medical advice or delay seeking it because of something you learned from this podcast. With that out of the way, let's get started. Hey everybody, how are you doing? This is Kersten here, and thank you so much for joining me. This is a brand new episode of A Better Way with Kersten podcast, episode number 378. Thank you again for taking some time out of your day. And on this podcast, as you probably know, we're talking about chronic pain, chronic sensations, and also strength training. And when I say chronic pain, chronic sensations, I mean those that are caused by nervous system dysregulation. You can also say too stressed nervous system or too stressed brain. There's no actual physical injury present, but you have these sensations and aches and pains and problems because there's something up in your nervous system. And because this isn't a physical issue, it's not dangerous. It's not dangerous. And of course, I know it can be very hard. I have experienced it myself, and I've helped many people who have experienced it too. But I want to say that even if you can move a little bit right now, even if you have some pain or some sensation, you can get started with strength training. And what I want to do today is share with you 3 absolutely amazing facts about strength training that probably make you think very differently about strength training. Because let me guess, right now you might be in a position where you're like, yes, I know I should do this. Yes, I will get there one day. Yes, when my chronic sensations are all gone. Yes, I know I need it for weight loss. Yes, I know all these things, but I'm just not ready for this. So what I'm about to tell you today will likely change your mind about this all and make you kind of wake up and see how important it really is to start even with just a little bit. Because like I said, I understand if you can't do a whole lot, but my job here is to encourage you and help you get started. And you can absolutely reach out to me if you need help with this. Just like you heard in the beginning of this episode too, I am offering right now 2 months of coaching. So if you want to do that, please go ahead and check out the show notes to get the link in there to apply. But today, like I said, I'm going to share with you 3 things that you maybe have heard about when it comes to strength training. Like some of the benefits, maybe you kind of sort of have heard a little bit about, but you haven't really thought about in detail. And what I'm going to tell you might be also totally new to you. So let's get started. The first thing you need to know about strength training is that strength training is critical for bone density. Okay, I want you to hear this again. Strength training is critical for bone density. Here's a crazy fact for you. Women can lose about 20% of their bone mass in the first 5 years in menopause. Okay? This is a really high number. And this happens primarily due to the decline in estrogen levels. So we get into perimenopause, estrogen starts to go down a bit. We get to menopause, it goes down even more. So this impacts your bone density. And when your bone gets weaker, if you don't strength train, it does get weaker, right? And so when your bones get weaker, what is the real life outcome of that? Well, let's say that you trip over something and you fall. Well, first of all, if your bones and muscles are strong, maybe you don't fall at all. Maybe you catch yourself because you're strong. But let's say that you do fall. And if you do fall and you don't have good bone mineral density, you are more likely to break a bone or fracture a bone. And when that happens, it's going to take a very long time before that bone rebuilds if you have poor or not good bone density. And this is why we need to strength train. Strengthening muscle helps bone density because when muscles contract and pull on bones, which is what they do when we do strength exercises, it signals the body to also strengthen those bones, right? You do an exercise, you're contracting, which means like squeezing your muscles, and that also pulls on your bones. So it strengthens your bones. And as a result of strengthening your muscles that way, also you are strengthening your bones. And as you train more and your muscles grow stronger from exercising, they pull harder on your bones, which in turn strengthens the bones even more. And the opposite is true also. If muscles are not exercised, if you don't do anything, if you don't have this contraction that you need in order to, build strength, when you do a strength exercise, you contract your muscles. If you don't do that regularly, then your muscles weaken, your bones weaken, and that can lead to reduced bone mineral density. And regular physical activity, especially weight training, is so important for maintaining bone health, particularly as we age, and particularly for women, just as I mentioned. Also, impact training is helpful. So if you could do a little bit of jumping, but I understand that this is the step 2, right? I know that a lot of people need to even get started with very simple strength training. We're not going to have you jump around just yet, but just so you know that impact training is another one that can be very helpful for bone mineral density. So, like I mentioned, after middle age, both muscle mass and bone mass begin to decline, increasing the risk of osteoporosis and fractures and breaking your bones and so on. But you can gain bone density even if you're already in menopause. You can. And I know this because, first of all, there are studies that show that, but also I once had a client, and I remember her very well. She started strength training when she was 58 years old, and she has gained bone density since then every year. So she does DEXA scans, which show your muscle mass, your bone mass, and all that. And she has proof that strength training has helped to strengthen her bones as well. So This is so important to understand. And studies also show that women in early or post-menopause can gain an average of 1.5% in bone mineral density in as little as 9 months with strength training, right? So yes, it's not an overnight thing, but what is an overnight thing? Like, what beneficial, helpful, life-changing thing can you get overnight? Nothing. And if you wait right now and you don't get started, well, it's going to take even longer. So in 9 months, you can actually gain 1.5% in bone density, which is really important. So important. So, and if you don't do strength training, it's a fact, you lose bone density. And of course, people could say that, oh, I can go on hormone replacement therapy to help with my estrogen and other hormones if needed. And I agree that sometimes this is needed for various reasons, and I'm not a doctor, but isn't it worth it to gain strength and muscle that also has other health benefits in addition to bone density? Isn't it worth it to do things more naturally if possible? Like I said, sometimes HRT is needed, totally get it, but have we tried the natural things first? Have we done that? So I really encourage you to get started if you have not done any strength training yet. And so I mentioned that strength training also has other health benefits, and here's the second big one that I want to tell you about today, and I think this might be also surprising for you. Strength training is the best thing you can do for diabetes prevention. Here's a crazy fact for you. 38 million people in America have diabetes, and 98 million people have pre-diabetes. That means 1 in 3 Americans have pre-diabetes. Now, most people think that the number one thing to do to prevent diabetes is to lose weight. And I would argue that building muscle is actually even more important than that. And the same says Dr. Gabrielle Lyon. So if you don't know her, she is a big proponent of strength training for eating higher protein diet. She really knows what she's talking about. She's a family physician and trained in geriatric nutritional sciences. Super smart lady. She says that most people are under-muscled rather than over-fat, which impacts their health and longevity. And according to her, the current obesity epidemic is not about, like I said, it's not really about so much about being over-fat, but being under-muscled. And that muscle loss can lead to rises in cortisol, insulin, stress hormones, and blood sugar levels, like all of this stuff that is really bad for our health, right? So high cortisol, what do you think, what do you associate that with? The first thing. So to me, it's like this anxiety feeling, like I'm anxious all the time and fight or flight all the time. Cortisol is also associated with like puffiness in the face, weight gain in the midsection for women, especially around perimenopause and menopause, right? So the cortisol is the stress hormone that we want to have under control. It's normal to have cortisol, of course, but it's not normal to have it elevated all the time, right? Which is the case for a lot of people. And she also mentions insulin. We're going to talk about that a little bit more in a second. So general stress hormones and blood sugar levels. Obviously, all of these things are impacted if we don't have enough muscle. So my advice would be to gain muscle first. And then if you want to lose weight, do that second. This is the order of things you have to go, right? Build muscle first, then lose weight after that. Losing weight is so much easier if you have built the foundation. If you've built a strong body, weight loss is going to be so much easier. And also a lot of people do when they're desperate to lose weight, they just go and do crazy amounts of cardio and they starve themselves, and then they lose also a lot of muscle. And that's the last thing you want to do. You don't want to lose muscle. You want to build muscle. And so that's why I say when you build your muscle first, you build yourself a strong body, and then you do maybe a little bit of calorie cut, then that's going to work for you. And also you have to know to keep your protein high as you cut your calories, which is something that a lot of people don't know. If you keep your protein high and then reduce your calories and continue strength training, now this is successful weight loss, and this is what's going to help you. But I was still always going to say that you have to build muscle first. Even if you're like thinking that, no, that's not the priority, I just need to lose weight. If you have problems with blood sugar regulation, build muscle first. And I have shared this before. This was my personal experience too. There was a period in my life when I had to stop working out for 6 months. And during that time, I gained weight, not only because I stopped working out, but because I also really, I started eating whatever, whenever, in crazy amounts, definitely went overboard. And I ended up with too high fasting blood glucose levels. And I was shocked when I took my blood glucose measurements in the morning. I was like, oh my God. And it wasn't just one morning, it was several mornings. And it was a thing. It was like a continuous thing. And what I learned was that, with strength training and by eating high protein diet, you can change that. And this is literally what I did. And I don't have that problem anymore because I have a lot more muscle mass right now. My protein intake is so much higher, and I don't have these problems with my blood sugar anymore. I didn't go about it like, let's just get the weight down no matter what. I went about it with, let's build muscle, let's feed the body with high protein. And this is what really helped me and completely eliminated this problem of high fasting blood glucose. Another thing that I had was after my meals, of course, the blood sugar will go up. This is normal, but it stayed up for too long. So it should come down, an hour, and 2 hours after it should be back in a pre-meal level. For me, it wasn't. It stayed up for longer than was normal. And I knew that this is not okay. So with muscle building, I'm going to emphasize that like a million times, muscle building, high protein diet, the problem is completely gone. Has not come back because I'm still living the same type of lifestyle, right? So why is muscle so important then when we talk about high blood sugar and diabetes? Like, how does it actually work? So I was thinking how to explain this, and I came up with this. Think of your muscles like a sponge. Let's say you spilled some water on the table. So you grab a sponge and you clean it up, right? And the sponge just takes the water in and your table is nice and dry. Now think that when your blood sugar goes up, that's that water on the table. And by the way, like I said, it's normal that blood sugar goes up. It's not normal for blood sugar to never rise. No. So it's okay that it goes up. But now if you have enough muscle mass in your body, this muscle mass acts like that sponge. So it soaks it all up. And if you don't have that muscle, there's nothing to clean that thing up. Right? So in your body, this means that the sugars that you take in that are now in your circulation, if you have good muscle mass, that muscle mass will absorb, will take it and use it for energy, right? Also, muscle mass increases insulin sensitivity. Insulin is the hormone that opens your cells up so that the sugars can get in. And when you don't have sufficient muscle mass, your insulin sensitivity is poor and your cells don't open up. It's like somebody's knocking on the door, open up, and your cells are like, meh, nope, because they're not sensitive. They're not opening up. And so the sugars cannot get into your muscles, cannot get into your cells. Now you're going to end up with high levels of blood sugar all the time, high levels of insulin, which is the way you get to diabetes if this continues, if it keeps going on and on. So you have to take care of your muscle mass. This is so important for your blood sugar control and diabetes prevention too. As you always know, and I always say, I'm not a doctor. You have to listen to a doctor when it comes to these things. But this is my experience, and there's a lot of data to back this thing up too, that sufficient muscle mass is one of the best things that you can do. Build that so that you can protect yourself against diabetes better. And now to the third point. So I want to say, if you've been listening to these two first points and been thinking, oh yes, I really should do something, but I'm really afraid of strength training. I don't know how I can do all these squats and press things overhead and do these push-ups. And come on, I don't have any strength. I'm a total beginner. I'm just, dealing with this pain. How can I get started? Well, hopefully this third point will really help you. You can start just strength training with something very simple that is called isometrics. Now, if you've never heard this word, don't worry about it. I'm going to explain it to you. You have done isometrics. You just don't know that you've done isometrics. So isometrics is a form of exercise that involves no movement and instead focuses on holding your body in a position for a set period of time. You can think of holding something heavy in your hands. Let's say that you have 2 buckets, one in each hand, and you're just standing with it. So this is an isometric exercise. Or maybe you can take 2 really small weights, or if you don't have weights, I don't know, some like 2 water bottles, lift your arms overhead and hold them there. Just hold this position. That's an isometric exercise. One of the very common strength exercises is the plank, right? You hold the plank position. You can do a high plank where your hands are on the floor and you push your body off the floor and you hold that position, or you can do a low plank where you do the same thing but on your elbows now, right? So plank is a very common thing, and if plank is not available for you, if you don't have the core strength, you can also drop the knees down and you're still going to be doing isometrics. You could do a wall sit, so you're sitting as if you were sitting in a chair, but you don't have a chair, so you sit so that your back is against the wall. I use it a lot with one of my older clients that I have, who I work with via Zoom every single week, twice a week. We do a lot of wall sits. You could also do pushes against the wall, so you literally put your hands against the wall and you push. Nothing moves, right? You're not even bending your elbows. You're not moving from shoulders. You just press and hold. Now, these are all examples of isometrics, and I like to use isometrics, especially in those who are new to exercise. And of course, even more advanced lifters will definitely benefit from it. But I'm going to tell you some things that are really good for isometrics, and especially for you if you've been listening to it right now and you're still thinking, I'm so scared, I can't do this. Well, isometrics does not damage the muscles as much as other types of exercise. For example, when you compare it with like doing squats or pressing something overhead and moving. So if you're doing isometrics, there's much less muscle damage. And muscle damage is not a bad thing. I don't want you to misunderstand this thing. It's normal that when you do exercise, you create a little bit of small micro tears in your muscles. These tears will heal, and this is how muscle grows and develops. But with isometrics, there is less damage, less of those micro tears. It doesn't mean that it's less effective. It's just you create less tears, less muscle damage. The second thing that is really good to know for you, especially if you're a beginner, you won't get as sore from isometrics. The third thing, you will recover much faster, right? So you're not going to be like, needing several days off afterwards, as you might if you lifted really heavy weights. It's almost impossible to overtrain when you're doing isometrics. So very important for those of you who are dealing with this overstimulation in your nervous system. Isometrics also activates more muscle fibers than any other type of exercise, especially if you're new to it. Just really cool to know, like you really get a lot done when you do isometric exercises. And here's an interesting fact that a lot of even more advanced lifters don't know. With isometrics, strength gains actually come on faster. And again, especially if you're new, there is no joint movement involved in isometrics. And this is not like, oh, this is a good thing or bad thing for like everybody, but it can be a good thing for those who maybe had a recent injury or maybe want to protect their joints for some reason. They get more inflammation, or they just need some time to build up to those more regular strength training exercises. So like I said, there's no movement from the joint, right? When you do a wall sit, you're not bending and straightening your legs, right? When you press your arms against the wall, you're not bending and straightening your elbows. You're not doing any of that. So you're not really using your joints. And like I said, this is not like forever. Let's like never use our joints. It's not like that. But if you start and you want to find the safest way to get started, then this is definitely a benefit of isometric exercises. And isometrics gives best results in conjunction with regular movements. So it's rare that I ever write a program for anybody who has only isometrics, but especially for beginners, there could be about 50% of the exercise could be just like isometrics. Yes, we're going to push our arms against the wall, or we're going to hold that low plank position, or we're just going to like stand with 2 light dumbbells in our hands, and we just stand and contract our muscles. So I do use these exercises a lot with beginners, but best results you will get when you use them in conjunction with regular movements. So knowing this about isometrics should help you to really eliminate a lot of fear that you might have if you're new, if you want to get started with strength training, and just make you feel a little bit more confident about it. Strength training should not be overwhelming, and especially if you're new to it and or you have or had neuroplastic pain, then this is a really good place to start with, starting with these isometric exercises. So these are the 3 things that I want to share with you today. So one more time, a short recap. The first thing, strength training is critical for your bone density. Think about it. It's so important. The second thing is strength training is the best thing you can do to prevent diabetes. And the last point I made today is that you can start with lots of isometrics, which is a very, very safe form of exercise that doesn't get you so fatigued, doesn't get you in doesn't give you a lot of muscle soreness. It's not overwhelming. It's so doable. It's just so doable. And I hope that if you want to give it a try, you will give it a try, because you will see amazing results from it. So this is what I had for you today. Please let me know in the comments if you have any questions or something you want to share. I read all the comments. So thank you already for that, and I'll see you in the next episode. Take care. Thanks for watching or listening. If you like the show, please do me a favor and share it with your friends and family. That will really help the show to grow. Also be sure to grab my free guide, Strong and Sensitive, which is a 14-day audio course meant for highly sensitive people and people with chronic symptoms. You can find the guide in the show notes and in YouTube description as well. If you're interested in working with me one-on-one, please fill out the simple application form that is also in the show notes. You can find me on Instagram at Tara Wisdom, that is TAARA_wisdom, and you can also go to my website, which is kerstenkimura.com. Your feedback is always appreciated, so please don't hesitate to reach out. Until next time.